What's going on? What's going on? Just want to do a video bringing out a little bit of history on Israel. Might be a couple legs behind. It's a little slow. But just want to wish everybody a good night. Shalom, peace and blessings to the nation of Israel. A lot of demonization going on, right? A lot of how should I say? A lot of rhetoric. So we're gonna clear up some of the rhetoric, right? And some of the rhetoric we're gonna clear it up. So I'm gonna take y'all over to my page here, and basically, right, I'm gonna break down cult and all these different stuff that it'll say cult, hate group, and all these other different things, right? So let's see what is really gonna be, right? All right, without further ado, it's a new setup I'm doing here, so y'all give me some time to work out the kinks. All right. So let's see what cult used to be called back in the days. So we got early Christianity and early rabbinic cult Judaism were significantly influenced by Hellenistic religions and Hellenistic philosophies. Christianity, in particular, inherit many features of the Greco-Roman paganism in its structure, and its terminology is its cult. So people will say Hebrew Israelites is a cult, right? But now, if you understand the word, you'll see that cult basically is an abbreviation for culture. And they use these words to demonize certain groups because they didn't want people getting certain information. Now, the people who are actually involved in cults and doing paganism, right, were your Romans and your Grecians. The word Hellenist comes from the Hellenista, when it was worship the goddess Helen. In Rome, she was called Diana, right? So we're going to go from there and get the definition of cult. So the dictionary, a system of religious groups, variations, devotions directed towards a particular figure or object, right? So let's get to the synonyms. So we got religious group, religious order, church, faith, community, belief, persecution. So basically, that's every single religious based system in the world is a cult, right? So that makes no sense saying this person's a cult, that person's a cult. What a cult really is Satan worship, worshiping the sun, the moon, the stars, right? Because you're worshiping ordinances of certain gods, right? We don't worship that. We read out of the Bible, right? So we're going to get the definition of the word culture, because you can't spell the word culture without the word cult in it. This is how they do wordplay, right? So now let's get to the word culture, right? The arts of other manifestations of human intellectual achievements regarding the collective, right? We're going to get to the synonyms, the customs, arts, social institutions, and achievements of a particular nation, people, or other social group. So when I talk about Hebrew Israelite, is the language Hebrew is the language we spoke. Israel, or in the ancient Paleo Hebrew, Yasha'Allah, which means he who is the son of the power, that's the nation we belong to. So we're as a language and a nation in one. So I'm actually partaking in my culture of my ancestors, not a cult. Which would they want you to believe, right? So this is the wordplay and the miscommunication and misunderstanding that the world brings out, right? So now they'll say we're a hate group, right? Oh, these guys are a bunch of haters and yada 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 yada, right? Okay, cool, right? So now let's get to uh, let's get to the scriptures, right? We got Malachi 1 and 2. This is the word of God. I have loved you, said the Lord. Yet ye say, wherein hast thou loved us? Was not Esau Jacob's brother, said the Lord? Yet I have loved Jacob, and I hated Esau, and laid his mountains to waste. That word mountains means government, structure, and his heritage, right? For the dragons of the wilderness. And basically, Esau is saying that he will rise back up and make his nation, blah, 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 blah. But right there in the Old Testament is talking about God hating a particular nation. Well, people who say, oh, that's just the Old Testament, right? That ain't got nothing to do with what's going on now. Okay, so let's read again in the New Testament. Romans, right? Because people, oh, the Old Testament is done away with. Okay, which is not, the whole book is Israel, but let's deal with it, right? Romans 9 and 13, as it is written. What Paul's doing? Paul's quoting Malachi, which I just read to you, right? Jacob have I loved, but Esau have I hated. It's a nation, a biblical nation that the Most High hates. There's no such thing as black, white, green, yellow, and purple. God doesn't deal with color. He deals with tribes, right? So now he's saying, as it is written, Jacob have I loved, Esau have I hated. What shall we say then? Is it unrighteousness of God? God forbid, which means hell no. For he said to Moses, I will have mercy on who will have mercy on, and I will have compassion on whom I will have compassion on. Right? So now, when a brother reads that, is he preaching hate or is he talking out the Bible? Let's keep it real, because Hebrew Israelites is a hate group. But now you got the Bible talking about God in the Old and New Testament hating a particular nation, a biblical nation. You see what I'm saying? So we have to deal with this. We can't just want to pick and choose all the love scriptures in the Bible and sing kumbaya. We got to understand the Bible in its totality. And it's talking about a nation from Genesis to Revelation. I just pulled 2 scriptures. I could pull, it's like 50 other scriptures talking about this particular nation, right? So you could take that however you want. The Bible has hate in it. So God doesn't love the whole world because one nation he hates. All right? So we got to deal with it, and we got to stop accusing people and read and understand what the Bible is really saying. All right? So that's done away with. I want to get to the actual history of our nation. I'm going to try to make this real short because I know it's late. People's attention span ain't really that, long these days. Everybody wants to know what Kim Kardashian, Cardi B's doing. Knowledge is something that, comes to the few and observed by least. So let's get to a book written by a historian. It's called Babylon to Timbuktu, right? Babylon to Timbuktu. And in this book, we're going to go over some history, right? We're going to start to get the lineage of how and where the Israelites were and how they got to where they were. All right? So I want to take you to page 84, right? So in the year of 65 BC, the Roman armies under General Pompey captured Jerusalem. Isn't that funny? Because we got a general, or not the general, but we got a Secretary of State Pompey, if I'm not Mike Pompey. So everything just recycles itself, and all people just regenerate back on the earth and do the same kind of things. This part right here is very important because this tells you how Rome even got to Jerusalem, right? A lot of pastors wouldn't even be able to tell you why Rome was in Jerusalem. This is in the Apocrypha. It tells you why the Roman army came to Jerusalem and captured it. We had a treaty with Rome that was broken. So the Romans came for Jerusalem to take what was theirs based off the treaty. That's why they came, right? And that's why when Christ was born, they had Roman centurions, right? So now, as Christ came, he was born, he died around 34 AD, and Paul, Peter, and all of them was preaching, right? So coming down to the end, all of them got executed. So in 70 AD, General Vespasian and his son Titus put an end to the Jewish nation, because the author used state, but is a nation, with great slaughter. During the period of military governors of Palestine, many outraged and aristocrats were committed against the residue of the people. During the period from Pompey to Julius, it has been estimated that over 1 million Jews fled into Africa, fleeing from Roman persecution and slavery. The slave markets were filled of black Jewish slaves. Now he has to use the word black to differentiate who were the actual Jews, but the Jews were black. All right. So now this is how we got into Africa. And if you really look at where Jerusalem is northeast Africa, right? So what they try to tell you is that, oh, Jerusalem is Middle East. That's a new terminology. 100 years ago, it was no such thing as the Middle East. Jerusalem is northeast Africa, right? That's why we fled into Africa. We fled northwest. Sorry, we fled southwest from northeast. We fled southwest into Africa, right? And what you're going to see is the Romans, they actually have history of this to show you this is actual secular history. So this is called the Ark of Titus, right? And this is in Rome up to this day. And you're going to see all that Latin words written on the top. That's basically talking about the history and how they conquered Israel, right? And then you're going to see at the side, you're going to see the Roman military soldiers taking away all our gold and ornaments. See, you're going to see the menorah, shofar, these different things, right? I just want to show you basically a close up of it, right? And I just want to show you how them 7 candlesticks up to this day is still prominent, right? I just want to show you the shofar that you're gonna see in there. Take it back to my scene. So all this is they were taking out. So we blow it. You're gonna see this in Black Panther. They blow it when we was going to war or we had ceremonies. We blew this. Okay, you're gonna see this all throughout Europe as well, right? So that's what's taken out in the Ark, and you're gonna see that they have all artifacts still there in Rome. See what I'm saying? And what takes us now to the part that they took all our ornaments and they have it, and you can see that's the menorah, the 7 candlesticks that actually that I'm wearing right now, the 7 candlesticks, right? This is actually the Lord's name in Hebrew, Yahweh. Okay. So from there we went southwest, right? So when we settled there, we built a kingdom, right? And as this map is showing where we settled, it's called Negro Land. This is where we got our name, right? This is where we got our name. This is why they call us Negroes up to this day, right? This is why they call us Negroes. So now, when we understand that is northwest Africa. So we fled from northeast Africa into northwest Africa. Southwest, and then we migrated northwest Africa, right? Now this map comes from this book. You can go look it up. Pretty good information in here. And you're gonna see how the author basically says the true name of the so-called slave coast was no other than Kingdom of Judah, right? And this is from the University of Northwest Illinois, and basically it was a king that wanted this map done in 1747, right? This map was done, and this map is still in Northwestern University Library. Okay, so it's a real map, tells you the dimensions and who it was done by, a cartographer, right? Emmanuel Bauer, right? So now it goes in deeper and it actually shows you, if you look, it says kingdom and you're going to see Judah, Juda, right? So this is where we were. We built a kingdom, we fled from Israel, and we went into Africa and we made a kingdom. See? So this map is basically saying where we were. This is Negro land, but this is what they rename as the slave coast, right? So when you start to understand that, you start to understand basically where they picked us up from, and then after where they picked us up from there, they basically pushed us on the far west coast of Africa on an island called Guri, right? Which is this French name. And this island basically, in a nutshell, is where early Europeans settled in Western Africa, outposts for slave and other trading. So the slave ships will come here, they'll pick up the slaves, and they'll go to Liverpool, England. They did not come to the Americas. That's a lie. The slaves were picked up here, and then they went to Liverpool, England. It's called International Slave Registry. The slaves registered, and then they were distributed throughout the Atlantic. See? So now this is the actual quarters where they house the slaves. Up to this day, you're going to see Hebrew writing on the wall. There's Hebrew writing on the wall, right? And it's just so funny. He has an article with um, Barack Obama, and he's there and he's calling out Hebrew names, and they cut from CNN. They cut it quick, bow. You know what I'm saying? And you can't even find that video nowhere, right? You can't find that video nowhere where he was in there. But you could go there on your own, and you're gonna see Hebrew writings on the wall. See what I'm saying? So we gotta understand that um, when we start to look at history and we start to backtrack, you're gonna see the same people doing the same things. How did the people put their names on the wall? They engraved it on the wall, like how we do on trains, where we scratch our names on the wall. On the train, we scratch our name. You know, Taekwon was here. We tag. We always been doing that. So everywhere we go, we tag our name. We scratch our names, right? That's just what we do. So right there is no different. Our names is on those walls, right? So then the question is, how do we get to this stage? How do we get to people that had our own land, own kingdom, gold, riches, to now being put in slave quarters and sold, right? So this is where the Bible comes in, and you're gonna get a little biblical history, right? Deuteronomy 28:15. Now this was told to the children of Israel. Moses on Mount Sinai, he separated the tribes, 6 and 6. He said, "You gonna talk about the blessings, you guys are gonna talk about the curse." And he let them recite the curse and the blessings. So from Deuteronomy 1 to 15 is the blessings, and from 15 on down is the curses, right? So this is what happened. Deuteronomy 28:15. But it shall come to pass, if thou will not hearken, which means listen, unto the voice of the Lord thy God, and observe to do all his commandments and statutes which I command me this day, that these curses shall fall upon thee. Curse you shall be in the city, which is black on black crime, poverty, right? And curse shall be in the fields. We were cursed in the cotton fields and in the cane fields in the Caribbean, right? These are curses. They only fall on a certain particular people. Okay, we're going to get to more curses. Thou shalt be an astonishment and a proverb and a byword amongst all nations, whether the Lord shall scatter thee. So everywhere we go, we got a name, right? Blackie, Kafa, nigger, spick, wetback, Muliana, right? This is a byword. This is a word that is not of your nation, but is to represent your nation, right? That's a curse. We got another one. Deuteronomy 28:47. But if thou servest not the Lord thy God with joyfulness and with gladfulness of the heart, for abundance of all things, therefore shalt thou serve thy enemies which the Lord sent against thee, in hunger, right? And in thirst, and in nakedness, clothes, food, and in want of all things, right? Health card, right? Passport, everything. Thou shalt put a yoke of iron on our neck, like they did in slavery, until he has destroyed thee, which means until they destroy our mind. The Lord shall bring a nation from far, from the ends of the earth, and as swift as an eagle flight. Who's the eagle? Rome, Greece, Germany, America, England, all have the eagle as a national bird. How funny how that goes. Whose tongue shalt thou not understand? You're damn right, because we didn't know English. A nation with fierce countenance which shall not regard the person of old, neither shew favor to the young, which they didn't. They didn't care if you old or young, you were picking cotton. We're going to move on. More curses, right? Verse 64. And the Lord shall scatter thee amongst all people from one end of the earth unto another. And thou shalt serve other gods, which neither thou father no which neither thou nor thy fathers have known. Even wood, that's Christianity, right? That wooden cross, and stone, that's your Muslim, your Kaaba stone. And amongst these nations shall find no ease. No ease in these nations. We always on guard, worried about getting pulled over by the cops, worried about this. Neither shall thy soul on thy foot have rest, which means we always got to work. We always got to do something to survive because no one basically is giving us anything. But the Lord shall give thee a trembling heart and failing of eyes, right? And sorrow of mind. Because what? We feel like we can't do nothing, right? Every time a police shooting happened unjustifiably, we have no hope, right? It's basically us saying, man, I wish I could do this, I wish I could do that, right? So we're gonna move it on, right? This is the kicker right here. And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships. By way I spake, by way wherefore I spake unto thee, thou shalt see it no more. It's talking about your homeland. And there ye shall be sold unto your enemies for bondwoman, slave, that's another word for bond, slave man, and bondwoman, slave woman, and no man shall buy you. That word buy is an old, quicker English word, it means redeem. No man's going to save you. Just like Martin Luther King, Marcus Garvey, Malcolm X, no one's going to save you, right? You're always going to be in a state of wanting, need, fear, right? Not knowing the future, uncertainty, right? And just to give you a little definition what the word Egypt is, because people are going to say, what are you talking about, right? So Exodus 20 verse 2, I am the Lord thy God, which have brought thee out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. So biblically, Egypt is the house of bondage, right? Not according to your Webster dictionary, according to the Bible. So when you read this and you say, I shall bring you into Egypt again, basically saying I shall bring you into slavery again with ships, which we have. We've been on the slave ships all over the Atlantic. That's secular history, right? So now God even talks about the nation that's going to do it, right? Joel 3 and 6. The children also of Judah and the children of Jerusalem have ye sold unto the Grecians, that might remove them far from their border. The Grecians are who? Right? The Grecians are descendants of the Europeans today, and those who had us in slavery and those who sold us, right? So it goes in and defines what nation, who's the nation, how we're going to get to where we were, and why, right? There's no other book in history explains why the black man, black woman, Hispanic man, Native American man went into slavery. If there is, show it to me. So now people will say, right, oh, why would you blame this one or that one? You broke the laws. You're the reason why, um, you guys in slavery, right? What that got to do with us? Well, this is the reason. Zechariah 1 and 15. And and I am very displeased with the heathen. Heathen is any nation outside of Israel that that are at ease because these nations are comfortable, right? Right? For I was a little bit displeased, and they helped forward the affliction. So what God is saying here, he was a little bit upset with the nation of Israel. But the Grecians, on any other heathen nations, Arabs and some African tribes, they furthered the affliction. So in other words, you do a robbery. The judge says, I give you 4 years. You go to the jail. The warden, for some reason, doesn't like your face, right? He says, not only going to do this 4 years, you're going to do these 4 years hard time. 23-hour lockdown, right? 1 hour rec time, right? And tells all the COs to not to feed you, right? You come out for an hour, then they cut your hours short, right? So now you in there for robbery. You got guys who in murder, they out there all day playing, and you getting treated different from anyone else. So this is what it means by further affliction. You got 4 years punishment, and in that 4 years, the warden decide that he's gonna make your life hell. When all you're supposed to do is just 4 years and come out. But he made it look like you were doing like 40 years the way how you got treated. So that's what Mosai is saying. You guys further the affliction of what I wanted them to go through. You wasn't supposed to take our nationality. You wasn't supposed to kill us and rape us and beat us, right? Have us in slavery, right? Make us serve, and eventually that'll be it. But they took it too far. Just took it too far. So now we understand the reason of why and why they took it too far. We go into where the slaves went. This is called the point of no return, right? So they marched the slaves down in here, right? And you're gonna see that the close-up view, right? This is the slaves going on the slave ship. This is called the Tower of Judah. This is in the west coast of Africa, that island I was just talking to you about. Okay, this is a little close-up showing you the slaves getting carried off, right? That's how it went down. So now we got to get the definition because we just read that it was called. We just read that the map was called Negro Land, right? So now we have a timeline and a chronological um, order in how we got to this place and what we were called. So now let's get to the definition because a lot of people call us Hamites, right? So let's go to the Zondervan Dictionary and get the definition of Negro, which is actually under the word Ham. So Ham, which is the three sons of Noah, right? Ham, Japhet, Shem. So it's basically saying Ham, the youngest son of Noah, born probably about 96 years before the flood, and one of 8 persons to live through the flood. He became the progenitor. Progenitor means father of the dark, sorry, he became the progenitor of the dark races, not the Negroes, right? But the Egyptians, Ethiopians, Libyans, and Canaanites. And even secular Christianity would tell you Ham was cursed, and only Canaan was really cursed. But as you can see, the Negroes that were taken on the west coast of Africa does not belong to any one of these tribes. We're not Egyptians, we're not Ethiopians, we're not Libyans, we're not Canaanites, right? We're not Hamites. See? And this is where people get a lot of confusion in it because they'll say, oh, we were in Africa, and they got this love for Africa for some reason. And this love for Africa needs to stop because even though we're in a country, doesn't make us this country. Like you in America, does that make you American? No. Somebody asks you where you from. Well, I was born here, but my parents are from Jamaican, so I claim Jamaican. That's just what it is. It's where your origin is from. It's not where you're born. Where you're born is your citizenship. So a lot of us was born in Africa, right? Which is a modern day term. It wasn't called that. It was called Mizraim, different other names, guys, you know what I'm saying? But that was just our citizenship. Our nationality is our lineage that we got to take it back to. So now we know that these tribes doesn't belong to the Negroes. Let's see why. This is a book by Dr. Eric Williams, The Negro in the Caribbean. This is a very good book. Now, why would Dr. Eric Williams say the Negro in the Caribbean? Because as an educated man as he was, he knew who the Negroes were. He just couldn't come out and say it at that time under British subjugation, even though we were a republic. But he wrote a book giving us a little insight. The Negro. He didn't say the African in the Caribbean. He said the Negro. And he did that for a particular reason. Right? So that's in Trinidad, Caribbean, which is the whole Caribbean. So now we got Negroes in America, right? Dated 1840. Valuable gang of young Negroes, right? They were selling Negroes. They weren't selling Africans. People got to get that out their head. This is 1840, right? We got Negroes that was being sold, not Africans. Come up with that love for Africa, man. Again, to be sold, a cargo of Negroes, right? Look at the date on the top right hand, 1769, July 24th, 1769, right? And this is just blatant. No dogs, no Negroes, no Mexicans. So a lot of Spanish people think that they're not part of our tribe, but they equate us to a dog. So what make you think that you're different? Because you're light skinned. That's the problem. They understood that they could put color against each other, then they could manipulate us. But Israel has always comes in different shades of brown. Color doesn't mean anything, right? You got people that are very very light that are Israel. Israel is not about color. That's why they came up with the definition of color to separate you. So color pertains to race, right? And that's why they did that. If they went by nationality, color would have no premise on it. And that's why they came up with color so they could divide and conquer. Or you're red, you're yellow, you're brown, you're black, you're white. And notice white's on the top and is the most loved and admired color out of all. And black is the worst color. But when you start to understand the word black and you understand why they use it, because each civilization used the word different, just think about it. They got black male, black ops, right? Black budget, black people. Now, when you understand that each word that comes before that I read has a secret connotation to it, right? A black budget, we don't know what's in it. Black male, we don't know what's in it. Black ops, we don't know what they're doing. Black people, we don't know who they are, but we do because they got the records that we're discovering. See, so they can't be lying no more because we are uncovering the records. Simple as that. All right. So now I'm gonna give you a little bonus. I'm gonna give you a little bonus. I'm gonna turn it on myself a little bit. I'll give you a little bonus. So Hollywood is very smart. Hollywood is very smart. They brought out a movie called The Avengers. Now they got the End Game. In the movie, they got Thanos. Thanos at one point is walking and say, "It, this, that, I am." Who was called I am? The only person who called I am was Christ. What the world ignorant called Christ. His name is Yahushua. And he clenches his fist. And he has a glove. The glove has 6 stones. Right? In old Canaanized comics, a lot of times they see Thanos with 2 gloves, which means he has 12 stones. But if Hollywood brought that out, that would triggered people's mind because they say 12, 12, they put 2 and 2 together. That's why they have one glove with 6 stones. But I'm gonna show you something. I'm gonna show you how smart Hollywood is, and they throw these things out here to fool the masses of people because they know what it is. So I'm gonna show you Thanos' stone, right? That's his glove, and he calls it the Infinity Stones. Remember, the Infinity Stones. He 6 of those, and he's good. Look at the breastplate of the nation of Israel. You see that man on the top right hand? That's called the world, right? That's what that is called. If you read Exodus 28 and 17, I'm not going to read it. But basically, all these gems are for a particular tribe, right? So we got Topaz, Simeon, Sapphire, Issachar, Zebulon, Diamond, right? We got Manasseh, Beryl, Emerald Stones, Judah, right? Now, this is what priests wore. So they wore their head tied, and then they wore a breastplate. Let me show you a close up how it looks. This is what the breastplate. This is what they call the world of Israel, right? This is what's called the world of Israel, and You're gonna see this in Wisdom of Solomon 18 and 24. I didn't pull it up, but you could read that, and they're gonna say this is what the priests wore, right? But Hollywood is so smart that they got the glove with the stones, that's infinity stones, that are similar to these stones. And I'm gonna tell you why they call it infinity stones, right? Jeremiah 31 and 35. Thus said the Lord, which have given sun for the light by day, and the ordinances of the moon, and the stars for the light by night, which divided the sea when the waves thereof roar. The Lord of hosts, host means war, by the way. The Lord of war is his name. And those ordinances depart from before me. If those ordinances depart from me, say the Lord, then the seed of Israel also shall cease from being a nation from me forever. So, which means if you're driving down the street and you see the sun and the moon and the stars, that means the nation of Israel is with the Lord. The minute you don't see the sun, the moon, and the stars, which means that the world is over, that's when the nation of Israel is over. So, our seed is infinite. As long as this sun comes and the moon comes and you driving down the street, our nation is with the Lord, right? That's why it's called infinity stones. But they do wordplay and stuff like that to trick the minds of the people. Hey man, that's what I got tonight. Give y'all some little information. I hope it opened your mind a little bit more. Give y'all some insight. Don't listen to all the garbage on CNN and all that rhetoric that they want to demonize Hebrew Israelites as some racist hate group and basically say to them, oh, look at them guys. You know, people make jokes. The Bible says, you shall be hated for my name's sake. If you're not hated, like this is how you know Christianity is garbage. Everyone loves a Christian no matter what. If you're not hated for really preaching the word of God, then you're not in the truth because the world actually hates what Christ really has to say. That's why they preach this world order religion. That's what Christianity is. Everyone sing kumbaya and get along. That's not what the word of the Lord is. The word of the Lord is for a particular tribe of people to rule this planet. It's not for everyone to rule. That's not how it is. The word of God is for you nations, you are gods, which means you are kings, you are judges. That's what God means. You are judges to rule this planet in righteousness, not war, pestilence, rape, murder, madness that's going on this planet. This planet is upside down and it needs to be cleansed. Just look at what's going on. We got a blood moon come up. And at the same time the blood moon came up, a meteorite hits Washington, D.C. Floods, volcanoes, earthquakes, storms all over the place. The world is off balance because of the wickedness is altering the natural harmonization of energy. And until that evil is subdued and put to rest, the world will just get worse. And it's up to the righteous men that were brought forth on this earth to bring order and balance back to it. That's what the nation of Israel was created for. That's what he made us for. And when we, like a judge, right? You go to court and a judge is out there smoking weed, doing coke. He can't judge over nobody. You're going to say, man, get the hell out of here. So now we were the judges. We were out there doing all kinds of dumb shit. So most times, like, he took us off the bench. You can't judge nobody. I'll put somebody up there. And when you see how they run the show, you're going to beg to go back up on that bench to run this planet the right way. And with that, shalom. Peace and love to the nation. You know, love your family, love your wife, love people around you, love people that love you. Stay away from negative, wicked people. People that want to compete with you. You know, people that look at you and want to always compete and always look at you that, oh, what this person got, oh, I could be better than them, right? Stay away from people like that. These people like that have low self-esteem. And what they need is for you to come around so they could feed off the energy. They're like ticks, right? They need your energy to feed them because they operate on a very low vibration, a vibration of jealousy, envy, strife. And they always see you as a person that they feel that they could match themselves up to, right? And they're not, right? Everybody's not on the same level. And once you stay in your lane, you're gonna know that and give reverence to the people that's on a higher level. And if you're on a lower level, be humble, right? That's what it's all about. Knowing where you at. Everybody's not on the same level. Everybody can't do the same things. Everybody's not born the same way and born with the same gifts. Therefore, everybody can't do the same things. See, there's no equality in this world, right? That's a bunch of BS. See what I'm saying? So with that, I say in the ancient Hebrew, Shalom, peace and blessings to you guys, and enjoy your weekend, man. Have fun. God bless.